Good morning, everyone. I'm David Craik. I'm Executive Director with COLAS. I've been working in the highways maintenance and management industry for some 43 years now, so I've got a fair idea how it all works. However, I'm here today representing HCMA, Highways Term Maintenance Association, within which organisation I'm chair of the Service Delivery Working Group. So just to tell you a bit about HCMA, well, it was formed in 2005 to promote the, to represent contractors and consultants and promote the positive contribution that highways maintenance and management makes to society. It's a big association. We maintain approximately 200,000 kilometres of UK roads within our members, and within that we have extensive delivery experience. Now, in our members, this is them, it's 22 members, 13 associate members, and those members carry out about 80% of the outsourced private sector highways maintenance work in the UK. So it's a big and very effective association. So, I'm here to talk about the procurement challenge. So, what is it? Well, first challenge, a lot of resource is in the private sector. For many reasons, we have a very big and capable resource in the private sector now, a result of national and local government policy over the past 25 years. I remember when the county surveyor was in charge, and certainly local authorities gave me my route to CNG. But it's all changed now. The county surveyor is part of the Director of Planning, Transport and Economic Strategy, or a title like that, which, to be fair, quite properly reflects the role of highways in the place agenda, and quite properly reflects the role that highways have in generating, in contributing to the local economy and local society. So, as far as procurement goes, there are wide range of procurement options, and I've listed 4 there. They're all in use, along with another dozen, and there are 150 local authorities and probably 150 different ways of doing that procurement, for very good reason, very good local reasons. So what would affect the choice of procurement option? Well, we need to understand the network, but we need to understand the political climate, local and national. We need to understand the spending plans, the current operating model. An in-depth study recently found that change in how highways maintenance is carried out will only happen slowly, incrementally, as one contract changes to another. And if a client's had a bad contract, a bad experience, they'll change. If they've had a good contract and a good contractor, a good relationship, why move away from the comfort model? But from a tenderer's point of view, every opportunity is different. This provides variety in life, but more importantly provides variety, but the tenderer needs to understand what he's tendering, and the client needs to understand that when the contract is let, his needs will be met. And just remember, what one person writes is not what another person reads. In literature, you can make a career out of interpreting what is written in a play, and in law, you can make a career out of being right half the time by interpreting what is written in law. And yet, to submit a tender for a contract, as a tenderer, we read what is written, we ask some questions, one of which is generally, can we have an extension? And then we submit our tender. 8 to 12 weeks of tender for 5 to 15 years of work. If everything is understood, then fine. But there are many instances where contracts have not operated properly, they've operated in an unhappy manner, contracts are finished early and have had to be re-tendered. And that's not a good thing for UK PLC. Each tender has probably cost the tenderer about £300,000 to put in. 5 tenderers, that's £1.5 million overhead wasted in UK PLC. So what is the answer? What does the client do? What can provider expect to bid? Well, the first thing is and this is the challenge, understand the network. Asset management. There is an increasing need for our profession to understand the network in order to provide efficient and cost-effective management. That could be in-house, could be outsourced, could use one of the options we've had before. Increased spend on the strategic network. That's been spoken about earlier. That will move into the local network in due course. It has to happen. The local network has to have increased spend. And what will the future asset look like? We've heard a lot about that at this conference. Road capacity, well, perhaps there isn't any in a few years' time. Modal shift, cars to buses, buses to bikes in London. There are many modal shifts coming along. And technology. And that's not only in-car information, that's the autonomous vehicles, of course. And although technology moves quickly, remember, the autonomous vehicles will be introduced slowly to the network over a period of time. So what are we trying to deliver? Outcomes. If you're going to set a contract that needs to be delivered, you need to be very, very clear about the outcomes. And that's the challenge. The procurement model isn't the challenge. Performance indicators aren't the challenge. How quick you can get a pothole filled isn't the challenge. The challenge is setting the outcomes properly. So in HTMA, we've done a lot of work on that. And we have an outcome indicator paper, which is available on our website. And that sets out briefly, it's not a long paper, 8 or 9 pages, it sets out briefly how outcomes should be set and how they can be used. And it might seem simple, but in setting outcomes, we need to be realistic in our anticipation of change. I mentioned autonomous vehicles. They'll take a while to come onto the network. For those in the audience that can remember, do you remember when unleaded fuel was introduced? It took many, many years before unleaded fuel was widely available, before all the cars were converted. And still today, we can still buy octane boosters for cars that don't use unleaded. And it's the same scenario with autonomous. The networks have to account for both. So we have to have flexibility in our future contracts. And that needs collaboration. So where do outcomes fit in? Well, collaboration is enabled by outcomes. Get away from strict contracts. Collaboration is enabled by working to outcomes. Collaboration is also driven by mutual trust. It makes resources available, and it drives innovation. Without doubt, collaboration drives innovation, and that's what we want. But collaboration has a mutuality about it, and it's driven by a clear understanding around agreed outcomes. This starts to address the broader agenda of place and starts to address the bigger economic and social agenda. So the procurement challenge is, well, I hear so many times contractors bring little that is new. If a tenderer always asks for the same thing, then that is what the tenderer will deliver. But public sector know what outcomes they want. They know what their communities need. They've got a view on where the network will be in 5 or 10 or 15 years' time. Use those outcomes. The private sector can bring skills and talent from across a wide national or international stage to make best use of those resources, skills, and innovation and capability to provide them to the tenderer that uses outcomes in his contract specification. We just need to work to a collaborative outcome-based agenda. At operational stage, outcomes need to be responsive to pace of change. At procurement stage, outcomes need to be fully scoped and understood. And we need to remember that outcomes enable collaboration, and collaboration improves outcomes. So you're automatically letting a tender that will constantly improve. And if we can just remember those last 2 statements, I'll be very happy. So, thank you very much.